Thank you guys so much for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. So I'm excited to have a returning guest here today. I have Laura Armstrong here, and we are going to dive into some great topics to kind of get this new year started off on the right foot, so to speak. So she talked to us last time about how we can gauge what kind of customer we're going to be servicing. And now we are going to be talking about how we can step into our power. I'm excited about that. But before we get into some of the tips and hacks or whatever is down the road, we are going to give Laura the opportunity to introduce herself. And so this will give you some time to go get some paper so you can take some notes. All right.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lachelle, for having me. I always love coming on your show because not only do we get to have a chance to connect with people, but give them tools that they can take into like their everyday life and apply and make changes, right? And the one thing about that is, before I even talk about myself, is you have to want change, right? Yes. And we've been taught all our lives that change has to be a painful thing, right? So I want you guys to get the idea that change can actually happen with a lot of ease, right? And all of us were forced last year into change, whether we liked it or not. So now what if we could have more ease with that? So that's what I want you to be thinking about today. Okay.
That is so true. And you know what, just to kind of piggyback off of that is, if you don't know how to do something, you can start off small and it doesn't have to be painful. Like, why would it be painful for me to decide, I want to learn how to play the piano? So, we kind of have grace with ourselves in some things, but we look at it as, in some aspects, it's really not a change. It's starting from ground zero. And so we think, well, I'm knowledgeable in being a mom, so I should be on level 10 doing something else, but into account that this is something that you actually don't have any experience with. So you do have the ability to say, I am starting at ground zero. I don't have to have these high expectations for myself. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's great.
Yeah, I just, think about it. In your life, when something really bad happened, what came out of it? Something good. Every single time. Mm-hmm. But what if you could have that without the drama, the trauma, the horribleness of what happened, and you could just have the great part at the end, right? With more ease. Yeah, so let's have that. So for all of you who don't know me, my name is Laura Armstrong. I am a leadership accelerator and a communication expert. And as a 3-time world champion martial artist, I help you develop the skills, give you the tools, and map out the action plan to reach your full potential that will fast track you on the road to extraordinary leadership success. And, today I wanted to talk a little bit about leadership because I really feel like last year was just extraordinarily hard on everyone else. On everyone. 2020 is has been a very challenging year for everybody in every way, personally, professionally, emotionally, mentally, but it doesn't have to define where you want to be this year in 2021. That's all up to you. So I want you guys to step into your power and take hold of your future. Okay. And I really decided that was going to be a big part of my mission this year, is to help people do that. I really feel like leadership and leading properly is something that we really need to get out into the world, because all of us are leaders, whether we like it or not. No matter what we do, we lead in something. And so, I would start by writing down what are you a leader of? Okay, what are you a leader of? And if you're not sure what that is, write down what you love to do, what your passions are. Okay, because I can guarantee you those two things are connected. Okay.
I love that.
Yeah. Start there. Right. For instance, Lachelle, you are a leader of women and people who want to learn more and you want to pass your knowledge on to people through other people. So you are a huge connector. That's what you do. That's what you're really good at. And you have a great story on your own that holds its own. So people look up to that and they're like, okay, so she did this. So she's a leader in that. So I want what she has. And the other question you want to be asking yourself for being a leader is, what do you have to offer that other people want? What is special about you? Because I don't think we think of ourselves like that enough. We're like, oh yeah, I just do this and that. No, actually, there's something special about you that other people want. You just haven't figured out what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hadn't figured that out because of COVID last year, you're certainly going to figure it out this year. I'm telling you, because it's made us all reach, right? Am I right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I love that. And, and so one of the things that I would say, even just, going back to the pandemic, is that we had to, life was on pause in some areas, but there were like very important things that we had to address all at the same time. So just my story is, okay, I have my career, but then also my children are homeschooling. And, my husband is out as an essential worker because he's working with Amazon. So you have major areas that, you can't just say, I'm going to put this off until whenever I'm ready to deal with it. You had to really be intentional with every decision. And so I think the first thing is, like, as a leader, how do you know how to prioritize even all important decisions? What is our mindset that we should have around that?
Yeah, for sure. That's a really great question, because I feel like we all have a bit of shiny object syndrome, right? This looks good. I go here, I go here, I go here. And, at first last year for me, I was like the hamster on the wheel, man. I just wanted to connect with people. That's all I cared about. But then I had to kind of shut that down, right? Because you just can't maintain that. You just can't. 16-hour days are just not normal for human beings. And we're not used to being caged like this. Right. It's not our nature, right? So if you want to get really focused on your leadership in your business, you need to go in and set boundaries around it. And those boundaries are really easy. So the first thing you want to ask yourself before you go into a meeting, a networking event, any interaction you're going to have with somebody are two things. The first thing is, what's my outcome? What am I getting out of this? And this is not a selfish thing. This is you being smart, A, about your time, and B, about the energy you're putting out there. Because you want to have enough to make sure that your business and your leadership are moving upward. You're not just stagnating because you're trying to please so many people. That doesn't work. You are number one, and that is not selfish. That's just smart. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what is your outcome is the first thing you want to be asking. The second thing that I think is really important that you need to be asking is, how is this going to contribute to me? Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's not selfish either, because you run a business or you're looking for leadership or whatever it is that you do. How is this going to contribute to me? Is it going to bring me customers? Am I going to, maybe this person doesn't have anything I want, but I can refer them to someone else. Is it going to tap me into a referral network? People, this is not always about the bottom dollar line, the bottom line dollar. It's not, okay? Money is really important though. So if it's making you money, do it. I mean, why wouldn't you? Unless it's illegal and you get in trouble, but don't tell me about those things. So it's like, keep that to yourself. Right. But I mean, what is it contributing to me? And the third question that I ask is quite obvious. It's like, how is it contributing to others? And I can tell you that a combination of those three things, you're going to get super, super clear about what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing in your business. Okay.
I love that.
Yeah. Like, it's really easy, and I really feel like we don't have to be restricted to seeing people in person now, right? So we have all these modalities of reaching out globally. Why aren't you Googling, people in your business outside of your country, like globally, or people in Europe or Italy or Asia or whatever, right? Get out there and start networking with people outside of your area, outside of your country, and connect with them, because they need your help as much as the people who are local. And you may not think so, but it's funny because I was on this organization that I belong to, and they're mostly in Europe. And I was looking at the courses that they had to offer. None even came close to what I offered. I was shocked because it was a high-end organization, right? And I'm like, nobody teaches this, right? And like, a lot of these people are leaders in their field, right? And so, like, you just don't know what you offer could be more important and more crucial to what people need. And until you start getting out there and being more global about your business as a leader, and start increasing your impact and your influence and all that kind of stuff, you're not going to it's not going to go anywhere. You have to really step out of your comfort zone. And
I love that.
Yeah, that's really
that's brilliant right there. So that's a good one, is looking for people outside your country. So the next thing that I would ask is, you're a martial artist, and taking that skill set which you have mastered with how far you've accomplished in that particular vocation. A lot of people have that kind of knowledge in their industries that are now kind of dissipating or going away. So what is the best way that you can transition your skill set into another business? So yours, you pivoted to what you're doing now, but for somebody who's listening that, it may not be martial artistry, but something that they were gifted at, where they can kind of keep that longevity or momentum or confidence from that particular knowledge and kind of transfer that into something new. What is some advice that you could give them in making that transition?
Absolutely. Why aren't you teaching it to the world? So create courses, create an online course. There are lots of courses out there that teach you how to do that. It's simple to do. It's as easy as a Zoom recording sometimes. So you should be transferring your knowledge to a place where not only can you teach a course live over 4 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever you want to do, but you can also do it yourself. Make the recordings and load them up, offer them to organizations. My husband is a project manager. His national project management organization asks him for videos all the time, and he's immortalized on there. And it becomes evergreen income for you. Right. So, I mean, excuse me, so why wouldn't you want that? So I would say, and that's a great way to pass on your knowledge, is to create courses, because other people want your expertise and they want to know how you did what you did. And you're creating a legacy by creating courses and informational sessions. Right. And the other thing I would say about it is to collaborate and partner with others who aren't necessarily in your field, but can use your skills. So if you're doing a transition, who do you want to work with? Like, what have you always wanted? What kind of person who does what have you always wanted to work with? So, maybe I would work with real estate agents who want to move into leadership on a corporate level, right? So things like that. Everything is meshable. You just got to figure out what is a good fit for you.
I love that. That is some great advice, because sometimes we have that tunnel vision where, especially if you've been in an industry for X amount of years, you're like, your whole world is just real estate. And, now that nobody is out really looking at houses, now you're like in a, fog of, I don't know what to do next. You don't see any other opportunities. So that is just a great point right there. That's good.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
And I just want to say one more thing about that. If you're feeling stuck, like you just can't get out of where you are, you know what? It's just really a choice, right? So you need to start asking yourself questions. What do I want here? What else is possible for me? Right? Because what happens is when you start to ask questions, you start to open that up and create a space around what you're doing so that you're not feeling so trapped. It doesn't mean you need to look for the answers. You just need to start creating possibilities. Okay, so start asking questions and making different choices. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck there forever, and that's not a good place to be.
I love that. Now, so let's talk about networking. So, you've been in this industry of whatever you were doing for years, and everybody is kind of like in that same modality. So if you're a real estate agent, a lot of maybe people that do inspections or mortgage brokers, but now you are broadening your audience. So what is some networking tips that you could give the audience for making that transition and creating those organic new connections in different industries?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, I would check out networking groups to see where they don't have what you have. Because if you're going to go in a group with 50 other, mortgage agents, what's the point? You're going to talk all about, the same thing. I mean, you could collaborate on things, but it's not really. So be looking for a way to educate people about what you do. Okay. So instead of like, hey, I'm a mortgage broker and I do this, but I'm putting on this session that's going to teach you as a first-time buyer how to buy your home without going into debt for the next 50 years. So you offer an education piece, which is what you are the expert at, guys, right? Like, so when you're networking, do that stuff. Okay. And again, you're asking the same 3 questions. What is my outcome here? Okay. I want 5 new people to have a call with me so that I can talk to them about what I do, or I want 10 people to sign up for my course I just talked about, or, you know, and is this contributing to you to be in this group? Maybe it's not, maybe it's too local, or maybe it's too much, like maybe you don't have a license to be in that area, but you know what? That's not even a good enough excuse, because you could offer education. You could DIY your education, create a course, right? Like, I really feel like a lot of evergreen income, because people are, you have an audience now that's at home. So take advantage of that. Yeah. So those are a couple things when I'm networking. And I also would make sure that my pitch, my 30-second, whatever it was, stood out. So if you're just like, oh, I'm a mortgage broker and I sell and I did this, that's not telling me what's special about you. You lost me in the first 3 seconds. Okay. When I tell you my pitch, I am a 3-time world champion martial artist. I got you for at least the next 30 seconds. I'm not saying you need to go out and do that, but what you have about you, because I can tell you it's just as special as what I do. Okay. You just need to figure it out.
I love that. You know, and I noticed that it's like people get so into me saying America's Supermom and how many kids, I lose them anyway. So like once I say, I have 15 kids, they are just like, what? You know, anything else is kind of like, it's not even noticed until they begin to got to get that out of their head. So I love the fact of leading with the wow factor, because it stops them in their tracks, but it also breeds curiosity. So when you say world time champion, it's like, what? How did you do it? And, you know, anything else you're saying, we're not even registering. We're just like, world champion, you know, we really want to hear what you want to say, but at the same time, we have questions. So I like the way you bring that up. That is so true. Yeah.
You know, I've had people interrupt me after literally those first 5 words and go, what? Stop. What is that? What? Yeah. And I'm like, because I'm so not the picture of that, right? Like,
exactly.
You know, like I'm a white woman who does Filipino martial arts. I'm slightly overweight, you know, I'm like older. I'm everything that's not about, right? So they're just trying to not only figure out the titles, but like, what? Like, look at her, right? So there's so much going on there. And that's what you want to do when you're doing your networking, right?
Exactly. Make it you know, special. That is so great. Now, so this is good. You can help me, because how do you navigate gracefully through that? So, you know, because I know it's like, I feel like I'm following a script sometimes, because I'll say, you know, I'm America's Supermom. I have 15 children and I'm trying to get this list of stuff I want to say. And then they stop me, you know, and they say, wait a minute, 15 kids. So I'm trying to stay focused. So how do I manage that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll give you a tip. What I do, it's actually really funny. I start laughing, right? And I'm like, yep, that's right. I'm totally outside of the box. I said, but I'm happy to talk with you about that later. You could say something like, yep, and my body remembers every single one of those kids, you know, or something like something that's going to diffuse the situation that gives them an, okay, we're going to come back to it because I do want to hear about it. But you know, let me tell you about this, and this is what I do, right? And so I always, and I don't want to discourage it, because I want their interest. I want them to be engaged.
Right.
Yeah. And then you can start asking questions. Yeah, like, do you have kids? You know, how many do you have? You know, and then you get into the conversation, and it's just so easy to connect. Yeah. Or I always ask, yeah, do you take martial arts? Do you know of anyone who did? And everybody knows somebody, right? So there's a good connection point there, and you've got a great one too. Everybody does. You just got to search for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, so often we kind of have these own images in our heads. So when we see somebody who doesn't fit the mold of what we've imagined, you know, it's a great opportunity to find out. You know, I know whenever I hear about martial artistry, it's about discipline and consistency. So I'm like, hey, you know, you had me at world champion with that. So it's like, what do I need to know about discipline? because it's not so much, you know, whether you look like what I thought you would look like, but I know based on what you've accomplished that you would be an expert in discipline and consistency and mindset. So going into that, what are some things that we should be cognizant of when it comes to our mindset and how we conduct our business? You know, making sure that we have that foundation of being, you know, just disciplined with some of the practices that are going to help us have a successful way of approaching each day.
Right. So the first thing I would say to you is don't quit. Okay. No matter how down you get some days, if what you're doing still resonates with you, don't stop. Because when you stop, not only are you going to realize how much of a passion it is or isn't, because if you stop and it's not a big deal, then you weren't meant to do it anyway. So you're good, move on to the next thing. But you really need to show up every day. Okay, show up every day, whether it's a low or a high day, because you're going to go through your lows, which are going to get you to appreciate your highs. So, you know, the three things that I did is persistence, dedication, and leadership, right? Those are the three top things that are the things that made me come through to be a world champion. So my persistence, I never gave up. You know, and when I would compete, we would go into 3 rounds of 1 minute each, and you're fully geared up like a kendo outfit with 2 sticks, and you're going at it full out, right? And so the second round's over, and I'm telling you, you're exhausted. But if you don't have enough gas in your tank for that 3rd round, that's where you're going to lose the fight. So I never gave up. No matter how tired I was, my brain ran my body, right? And it's like, you're not giving up. You're going faster than they are. Just don't quit. Keep going, keep going. And I would talk to myself in the round. I'm like, and really, really good fighters, what they do is they actually watch their opponents. So I would start to watch my opponent as I got tired, and I noticed what they were doing. Right. So when you're talking to people in your business, really watch them, because they're giving you the answers. You probably just weren't paying attention. Right.
I loved it.
Yeah. And so, you know, I would go full out till the end of the round. So go full out, like, don't hold back yourself from your business, because that's not serving anybody, you know. So dedication means that, you know, it's kind of in with perseverance, but dedication means you show up all the time. I mean, you know, when I was getting ready for competitions, it would be 9 months of heavy training to peak at just the right time for just the right day, including having jet lag, moving, you know, flying halfway across the world to compete in the world championship. So there's so many factors involved with dedication. So I can tell you, when you're thinking about that, you need to be making a list and having everything in order. And I would encourage you to just have the top 3 things that you're going to cover that day in order of what's most important. And how do you know what the most important thing is? It's the one that's going to generate you revenue.
Love
okay. And now I'm not just talking money here. Revenue can be relationships. Revenue can be referrals. Revenue can show up not just as dollars in your bank account. Okay. So it's the one that's going to give you the most. Okay. Number 2, and then number 3. And make sure, and you know, before you go to bed every night, I highly recommend you look at that list for the next day. I didn't get number 3 done, so now it's number 1. These are the next 2 things I'm going to be doing. That's going to keep you moving on the train of getting things done on a regular basis, and you moving your business up the ladder.
I love that. Great advice, you know, because so often we get into our own way, and, you know, it's always good to, you know, they have this saying that success leaves clues.
That's right.
And we will listen to people that sound good, and we don't even validate if these people are somebody we need to listen to. But then when we have people who tell us what to do, it's like, oh, you know, I don't really like the way that sounds. That doesn't make sense. But they've already told you what they've accomplished. You know, I don't get that, how we do that, you know, but it happens all the time, you know?
Yeah, for sure. You know, like that, then you're like moving into emotional intelligence and thought leadership and, you know, things like that. And, you know, really the people you work with are going to define how you are a leader. You're not doing that, because you can't define how you're a leader if people aren't following you. right? So they're setting the tone for what you're going to do. That's why always when I go into a workshop, I'm like, okay, you guys all signed up. You know what this is about. This is what I'm planning to do. What are you looking for? What are you looking for when we, because I want to make sure that we include that when we do something. And everybody has a different point of view, right? Because it's all about them. It's never about you as the leader.
So
right?
true.
And it's the same with communication. If we can get outside of our head and speak to the values that are important to people, that's a huge part of leadership. And I think last time I was on here, we talked about communication in the bank system. And I believe in that fully as a contributor to the success of your business and your life. Yeah, for sure.
So true. Now, so what are some creative ways that we can follow up? Because, you know, right now we've got all these different platforms. One thing that I've found myself on here recently is this Clubhouse. So you've got Clubhouse, you got an Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, you know, Pinterest and Twitter, all these things. So how is it that we can follow up with people? Because it's good to make connections, network virtually, but how do we keep it together?
You know, I almost, that's such a great question. You know, I almost feel like we have to have all of these things as like a must-have part of your business now, right? It's just the way our business is, right? I'm not in Clubhouse or TikTok. It's just, I'm not.
Be glad. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I try my best.
Set a timer, okay?
Yeah, you know, like I really, I'm not a big social media person. I do it because I have to, and it's a part of my business. And I realize that people connect there. But to do posts every day, like I'd rather pay somebody to go do that. So, you know, if you're not loving what you're doing in your business, go get someone else who's the expert to do it. That would be my advice. But make sure, you know, whatever the mode is that you love to connect on, whether it's Facebook or Insta, like whatever it is, that's what you're giving people to connect on, because that's where you go the most. Okay. And, you know, maybe it's texting on your phone number. I don't really give out my phone number. I don't need 500 million texts. Right. But, you know, but people can connect with me, whatever, through my email, like I'm old school, right? I use email. I use Facebook a lot. So it's just how you feel your message is going to get across the best on certain platforms. I think you need a little bit of everything, but you're obviously going to favor certain ones that work for you. Right. Yeah.
I love that. That's good. Yeah, because, you know, like I get on these different platforms and places, and it's like, you know, you enjoy being on there for whatever reason. And it's like, man, I got this coming from here and that, and just trying to make sure that you maintain it and keep it straight. Because, you know, if you go out in all these different areas and you don't really have a system, you know, you can look up and half the day is gone and you haven't got anything accomplished.
Yeah, it's like the black hole of social media, right? Yeah. And, you know, I encourage people, like there are lots of programs out there like Hootsuite, where if you post, it'll go out to all of your social media. Like use that kind of thing if that's going to serve you. Like, and that's going to save you from getting on to each thing and spending time on each one, right? Like,
so true.
Yeah, like it will save time. But I really think social media is a very powerful tool. And it's just a way, even now more than ever, for us to connect globally on things. And I really feel like it's really important. Yeah.
So true. Yeah. Well, this has just been great, Laura. I mean, I could talk to you for hours. Just a lot of the insight that you've given us. You know, leadership is very important, because even now when we are kind of reintroducing ourselves to a new year, you know, you can get so lost in the comparison trap of looking at what other people are doing. So it's so important to kind of have that confidence of yourself being a leader so that you can be successful approaching a brand new year.
Yeah, you know, and I just want to leave you with one final thought. Like, you know, you guys, you're really enough. Like you are enough. And so don't forget that. And one other thing is, the more you're getting noticed, or people are making comments about you or bad things or whatever, that's a good thing, because you're being visible and you're being more visible. So that means people are seeing you. Not everybody's going to agree with you, and that's okay. Honestly, it's never about you. It's about them, right? And it's their point of view. And so if you can keep it keep that contained. And it's hard because we're human beings and our feelings get hurt. But, the more people are giving you grief, the more you're actually being seen and making a change in the world. And that's what you want to be doing. You want to be the catalyst for change. So get out there and step up and step into your power and lead from the front.
I love that. Great advice. And I hope you guys were taking notes. I mean, this is just a great opportunity for you to reach out to Laura. And Laura, what's the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
Yeah, sure. Check me out at leadershipwithlaura.com. And if you decide you want to join my mail list, I've got a great gift for you. It's 3 steps to become a powerful leader in a virtual world. So make sure you opt in for that. And I have a lot of different 3-day leadership challenges coming out for a very cheap price, because I really want to bring people into leadership now and step up into their business. So contact me. I've got a few dates coming up in February. I'd love for you to be a part of that. Yeah, it's been great. Thanks for having me on. I just love talking to you. I feel like we could be having coffee for another 2 hours, right?
I know that's right. Yeah. So you are welcome back anytime. It's always fun to have a guest that, I'm learning myself. I'm over here taking notes. Okay.
Awesome.
I'm loving that. So just thank you guys so much for watching. And I encourage you to reach out to Laura. And one of the things I really even appreciate with you mentioning challenges is that it's an opportunity to kind of have that accountability in a community, because a lot of times we feel like we're the only one that doesn't know something. So when you get with a community of people who are working on whatever it is the challenge is, it creates that accountability and someone who understands and is starting where you are. So I really appreciate that. So I wish you the best of luck with that promotion, and anything I can do to help you with that, please feel free to let me know.
Absolutely. The dates. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I encourage you guys to check that out. If something Laura said resonates with you, follow up on it. Don't just discount it as, oh, I don't know if she understands. Just reach out. It doesn't cost anything for a phone call to just check it out. So often, like I said, we are following people online. We don't have the opportunity to talk to them, connect with them, or even see what their values are. So as we do these interviews, we're finding out that some of these people resonate with us, and that's an opportunity for you to take action. And she does give you practical ways that you can implement instead of just having this pie in the sky thinking. So I encourage you to reach out to her. If you have any questions, maybe you're a little shy to reach out, please feel free to put them in the comments. I will forward them to Laura, and we will make sure that you find out the answers. So again, we want to thank you guys so much for joining us today. And we will see you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye for now.